Hey guys, today we're going to be introducing Power BI. Power BI is simply put one of the most important tools that Microsoft has put out when it comes to data visualization and analytics and stuff like that. What makes Power BI so important is that it's open to most of you that use Excel daily. So if you're thinking about implementing a data visualization tool in your office, look no further than Power BI. Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about Power BI. What is Power BI? Well, it is simply put one of the most important tools that Microsoft has put out in the realm of data visualization and analytics. It's not going to replace Excel, it's a complement to Excel, you could view it that way. And for most of you that are daily Excel users, Power BI is a godsend because it's going to allow you to do a ton of stuff, a ton of visualizations specifically that are not available in Excel. It's going to allow you to combine the power of Excel with what we can do in Power BI. And it's really simple to use. In this first video, we're going to be talking about Power BI Online, the app, all right? So you're going to be looking at a bunch of stuff that we can do with data that we actually import from Excel and then work with Power BI. In the next video that I'm going to put out, we're going to be talking about Power BI Desktop. Now that is where the real magic happens because we're going to be talking about formulas, measures, tables, and a little bit more complicated stuff. Now, guys, one thing that I want you to note is that Microsoft, in its effort to promote Power BI, has put out a lot of material about it. And that means free training for you. Now, this is my particular take on the material that Microsoft has put out as free training. But a lot of people I've seen, they charge actually for this stuff, all right? They're going to try to sell you on-site training or online training for like really expensive courses for stuff that Microsoft already gives away for free. So again, this video and the next one, I'm going to be covering the stuff that Microsoft gives away for free. And of course, if you have questions about the online course, yes, we cover much more ground that is not part of the free stuff that Microsoft gives out. So guys, without further ado, make sure that you download the file and let's get started. All right, this is going to be the simplest by far, and it's not going to need a lot of mental horsepower from you. After that, it's going to get harder and harder. All right, guys, so let's get started. We're going to be doing Power BI Online. So that means you have to hop into your Google search and search for Power BI, just like I search for it here. Now, you are going to absolutely ignore the ads and go over to this first little one, all right? Power BI Interactive Data Visualization Tools. We're going to get started from the very beginning. We're going to set up our account and then we're going to check out how we make this work. So we'll go over to products and notice how we get everything here from Power BI. Now you have two options here. Choose how you get started with Power BI. It's either Power BI Desktop for Windows, that's what we're going to be looking at in the second part, or Power BI Service. That's the online part, that's the easiest one, that's the one we get started with. So let's sign up. Now, after I press sign up, it's going to ask me to put in my credentials. All right, guys, it's going to ask me to put in my credentials. Now, get started. What is my email address? dan@a2excel.com, and that's enough for signing up. Now, after that, it's going to ask a whole plethora of stuff from you. I mean, your first name, your last name, your password. This is one of those passwords that asks for a number, a letter, a symbol, stuff like that. So make sure you do include the numbers, letters, and symbols. And then it's going to try sending you a verification code. Very important. Now, country or region. I'm currently based in Mexico, so that's what I'm going to be using. And let's get started. Here's my verification code, 380238. All right, so guys, this is pretty much what you need to do to set up your Power BI Online account. It's pretty simple. You'll notice that it's just, it's just two steps and that's it. No, I do not want you to save my password for this site. Now, notice how it's going to ask me to invite more people. This is something pretty important in Power BI. It's built as a collaboration software. That's pretty much its main advantage over Excel right now. So I don't have anyone to invite to right now. I'm for alone. So I'm going to skip my invitations and we're good to go. All right, now it's finished my setup. It's going to ask me to pick an account. Yes, I'm picking up this account, signing in with this, and now it's going to set up my workspace. Now, Power BI Online is pretty much the heart of Power BI. You'll spend most of your time with Power BI Desktop, but Power BI Online is where you can actually share the stuff you make, all right? Either you made it in Excel, you made it in Power BI Desktop, Power BI Online is where you're going to be sharing. Now, the first thing it's going to be asking us is, what do we want to work with? And in this case, we're going to be talking about new content, all right? You'll always come back to this menu in order to pull information, either out of a service, out of a database, or out of a file. Now, the file that we're going to be working with is this one, all right? It's going to be this one. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it right in my desktop. So where is it? Desktop, and it's going to be called Sales 2010, all right? Sales 2010. Now, guys, here it is. You'll notice you'll get it from here, and now I'm going to tell it, all right, we want to create new content. It's going to come over from a file, so I'm going to get the file, and it's going to ask me where it comes from, a local file, a OneDrive, SharePoint, or it's going to ask me if I want to learn more about importing files. Let's go over to local file and tell it, yes, it's right here in the desktop. I just saved it, and it's this one called Sales 2010. I'm going to open that file, and it's going to give me these two options. Now, whenever we're importing data from Excel into Power BI, we get presented with these two options. This is the good one, import Excel data into Power BI. This is something else entirely. We rarely ever use this one, all right? Now, import Excel data into Power BI, what it does is it goes over here into my desktop and it creates a persistent connection with my file. What does that mean? It's going to literally swoop down from the internet, connect to this file, and pull all the data out of there. And this is the most important part. And if we were to update this file, if we were to change anything, bring in new data or stuff like that, then the beautiful thing is Power BI would automatically update the information here, all right? So I'm going to tell it to import the file. Now it's importing Sales 2010. And notice how it automatically brings me up here to what is called the dashboard, all right? This is called the dashboard, and this is where we are going to be seeing everything about it. Now, we already have Sales 2010 right here, living right here, even though I already have it open here. So let's talk a little bit about the file. The file that we're going to be working with is a table. It's a table that shows sales for an office supply store that sort of sells pretty much everything you need for your office. You want a desk, you get a desk. You want paper clips, you get paper clips. You want computers, they sell computers. Pretty much everything that you would need for your office, you'd be a fool if you didn't find it here, all right? And they're based in Canada. They sell all over Canada, either physical or online, all right? Either physical or online. Now, what we have is 4 years worth of data. That's 8,400 lines of data, and a bunch of information about what products they bought, shipments, provinces, stuff like that. So this is what we're going to be working with. And first, to work with Power BI, the first thing that we have to do is we have to get to know the fields. So say, for example, I want to know sales by province in this particular instance. So Power BI allows us to do that, allows us to know that, skipping over pivot tables, skipping over pivot charts, stuff like that. I can just ask the question to Power BI, pose a question to Power BI in natural language, and that is really important. All right, so notice what I did here. I'm in the dashboard, and there's this little thingy right here that says ask a question about your data. So I'm going to click there, and notice it automatically changes me to the Q&A session. All right, Q&A in Power BI allows me to ask in natural language any query that I have. So I want to know sales. Notice how I know I'm on the right path because it is suggesting sales to me as a proper field. By, now that is an English language word, not much to explain there. Province, all right? Sales by province. So guys, there we go. I've just created a chart that shows me the sales by province. Now, if I were to move my mouse over any of these provinces, over any of these Canadian provinces, I'd get exactly how much they've sold in Canadian dollars. So Ontario has sold $3 million, as we would expect. It's the largest, most important province in Canada. And Newfoundland, $102,000, all right? So notice how I just asked Power BI for the information and it gave it back to me. If I were in Excel, to get this kind of information, the easiest way to go would be to set up a pivot table, but a lot of people don't know how to work with pivot tables in Excel. Whereas with Power BI, I would really hope that a lot of people, I mean pretty much everyone, should be able to pose simple questions, written questions, all right? Now, let's suppose I didn't actually like the chart that I'm being suggested. Well, I could choose anything from right here in this visualizations menu, all right? So I come over here and press on this little twisty thing and expand it and tell it, all right, I didn't like this chart. Maybe I'd like it to be upright. All right, so I press in there and notice how the chart just automatically changes. No need for any fancy menus or stuff like that. Or maybe I'd like a pie chart. I'm not supposed to use pie charts in visualizations, but I'm going to ignore that advice and use a pie chart. It's horrible, but I could use it if I wanted to, all right? So pretty much any visualization here that I want, I get, all right? So let's suppose I'm happy with this original visualization and with the colors. I'm not, but let's suppose I am. All right, so when I'm happy with it, I'm going to pin it back to a dashboard. So I'm going to go over here to this little tag thingy, right? Notice how it's up on the right. I'm going to press on it. And it's going to ask me to pin to the dashboard. I'm going to tell it yes, the existing dashboard, the one that's called Sales 2010, and I'm going to pin it. So it's already pinned to the dashboard, and I could go to the dashboard right here, and voila, we have a sales by province chart, all right? And I can pretty much conjure up anything that I want right here, all right? Let's ask another question. Say, for example, sales by shipment type. All right, sales by shipment type. This seems like an attractive piece of data. So guys, I'm going to close this. I'm going to open up visualizations, and this one could actually fit within a pie chart. But since I'm all hipster and alternative, I'm going to use a donut chart, all right? I'm going to use a donut chart. So this donut chart, I think it's attractive. I think I like it. So I'm going to pin it back over to my dashboard, all right? And if I go over to a dashboard, notice how I have sales by province, sales by shipment type, and so on, and so on, and so on. We're going to delve later into how to modify the formatting for this for these kinds of items that I'm adding. But it's pretty much any item that I want to add to the dashboard, I can pin it right here, all right? Now, what else do we have here? Well, if I'm not into charts, or if I want to add like cards where I get the actual data, like the cold hard numbers, then I can just come over here and ask a question and say, I just want the sales. Press sales, and here we go. We get a card with just the total amount of sales. I'm going to pin that visual once more, and I'm going to go over to a dashboard. And there we go, guys. We have the visual right here with the sales. Now, let's say I didn't like the layout here. Well, I can just drag my visuals from one place to the next, and I could expand them to make them a little bit larger, all right? Or a little bit smaller. I'm going to leave everything as it was. So I just going to leave them there. All right. Well, seems like they just don't want to move right now. Okay, guys, what else could we do? We are going to get something called quick insights. All right, we're going to get something called quick insights from my how do I call it? From my data set. All right. Now, those quick insights, they are artificial intelligence. They're an artificial intelligence way to get data out of your data sets. Now, what do I mean by that? Excel is going to use, Power BI is going to use its AI, and it's going to delve into my data set, and it's going to sort of give me insights, conclusions that it thinks are relevant. Now, it's going to fail at a lot of those. In order to get there, I'm going to click on my workspace, go over to datasets, and then notice this little three dot thingy over here. This is pretty much where we do most of our Power BI, what do you call it, menu options, all right? So I'm going to press over here, and it's going to open the menu, and then I'm going to go over here to Quick Insights. Now, after I press it, it's going to analyze it. Depending on the size of the dataset, say for example, it could be like a 20-minute long, if it's a really long data set, it could be a 20-minute long process. In this case, it was really easy. I could go over here right now and press View Insights. And notice it shows me here Quick Insights for Sales 2010. Now, some of these are pure gold, and some of these are pure and unadulterated trash, all right? They're not worth the screen ink they take up on. Say, for example, earnings by shipment type. This is something I hadn't thought about, but it seems I don't know, it seems relevant. So what it says here, it says that regular error accounts for the majority of earnings. Oh, you don't say, Sherlock. Regular error accounts for the majority of earnings. That's exactly what I'm looking at here. Let's say this was relevant and I liked it. Well, I could pin it back to a dashboard. Pin back to a dashboard. But I'm not going back to a dashboard right now. Now, there's other stuff that doesn't really make sense. Okay. Say, for example, this one, quantity and count of SuperOffice sales. Now, the AI decided, the artificial intelligence decided that it was going to measure the correlation of quantity of products sold versus count of SuperOffice sales 3. Now, that's a nonsensical comparison because I don't even know what count of SuperOffice sales 3 is. I mean, what on God's green earth could it be? Could be probably the name of the table, and it's counting. I don't know exactly what it's counting, but it's doing something. So this is the sort of stuff that is nonsensical that you're going to get a ton of, all right? And notice how you got a bunch, like a real bunch of insights. Now, the real benefit of this is that it sometimes thinks about stuff. It sometimes thinks up about stuff that you wouldn't have thought about yourself. So if you're trying to get ideas for your report, that is really the benefit of quick insights. It's going to quickly make up a bunch of charts, a bunch of graphs, and you'll get ideas from this. Say, for example, sales by shipping date. Sales for order year 2012 has outliers. I mean, we have a bunch of sales here, or a bunch of days that had abnormal sales, okay, that had abnormal sales. So we could pin that to the dashboard and then go over to my dashboard and figure out what it is that we're looking at here, all right? We could later delve deeper into why those particular days, say, for example, the 6th of May or the 23rd of May or the 4th of December, why those have outlying sales as opposed to the rest, which pretty much stayed steady at about 20K in average, all right? So I'm going to exit focus mode and go back to my dashboard. All right, guys. So I think you're starting to see the benefits of Power BI. Now, Power BI, as compared to Excel, is it loses some stuff and gains some stuff. All right. So, say for example, in Excel, I can do my regular dashboards as we have seen in our videos. But one of the things that we cannot do is easy sharing. If you want to share an Excel file, you have to save it, upload it to a SharePoint or something like that. Whereas Power BI, that is its strength, all right? That is its strength. And we're going to see towards the end of the video how you could do sharing with Power BI. Now, we've already seen that we can add stuff to our dashboard, but the real power, I mean, the real place where you're going to be working with Power BI is this report thingy right here, all right? It's this report. So I'm going to click over here in reports and, well, I have no reports right now. So in order to create my first report, I have to go over to datasets and click right here in sales 2010. Now, it's going to lead me to the report, report creator. And once I'm done with that, this little report that I created is going to show up here, all right? So this is, I don't know, you can think of it as a blank canvas for you, Leonardo da Vinci of data visualization to work with. But mostly it's just like an amped-up version of PowerPoint, all right? And what we're going to be doing here is, just like in PowerPoint, you're going to start creating your presentation. Now, Power BI has nothing in common with PowerPoint right now, but it's a pretty useful analogy to keep in mind. Notice how when we come over here, we have two little bars open. This one that's called visualizations and this one that's called fields. Now, the one that's called fields has all of the tables that we have available right now, all right? Products and SuperOffice Sales 3, which is this one right here and this one right here. Now, if you know anything about Power Pivot, you'll remember that when we're working with multiple tables, you have to tell Excel or Power Pivot that they are linked together. If you remember correctly, we didn't do this at all during the video. Does Power BI automatically detect relationships? Yes. But we have to make sure that the relationships are correct, and the only way to do that is in Power BI Desktop. So right now we are not going to we're not going to get too confident that this relationship that these kinds of relationships work. All right, we're going to go on with our lives and just use everything from Super Office Sales 3. All right, now we also have a bunch of tools right here to add formatting. So I'm going to start over pulling a text box from up top, and this is going to be my title. So let's do something like sales analysis by geography. All right, sales analysis by geography. I'm going to make this a little bit larger. I'm going to use, I don't know, what do you like? No option. See, go you like is fine. And let's make it a little bit larger. Sales analysis by geography. So now, there we go. We have a big title, and let's make this bold. All right, sales analysis by geography. And after that, let's start working with the options that we have here. So let's suppose that I want to see total sales for starters. Now, I think the most basic thing that you can use from the visualizations in Power BI is this little card thingy right here. If I want to insert a new visualization in Power BI, the only thing I need to do is come over here to a card, press on it, and notice that I get this little card set up for me to start dragging my items. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look for sales. And I'm going to click on it and drag it up here to fields. All right, I'm going to click on it and drag it up here to fields. Now, notice how I get this little yellow dotted line. That's where I want to release my mouse. All right, and there we go. We get total sales in the millions. All right, now that's really important. A lot of my students in the classroom, they just try dragging sales up to a values title, and notice how it doesn't do anything. Make sure everything in Power BI is about those little rectangular boxes with the yellow dotted lines. If you get the dotted lines, you can release it there. All right, once more. I lost my card, I'm sorry. All right, so sales up there, and we get the card. Now, let's suppose I want to modify that card. All right, well then I'd go over here to this little formatting roller thingy, and I would click on there. And this is where I can modify most of the formatting for my card. So say, for example, I want to change the title. The title is off right now. I'll press a little button, and now it's on. And now I can actually add a title. So this is going to be total sales. The font color that I'm going to be using is going to be, I don't know, say, for example, yellow. And the background color, no background. Let's make it a little bit larger, and that's it. Now, let's suppose I want to see the sales, like, not in millions, but the actual number, all right, the actual number. Well, what could I go about to do that? I'd go over to data label, and I tell it to display units in none, all right? And that would give me the total amount. That would give me a total amount. Now, let's say I wanted to look at sales formatted as currency, then I'd need to go to Power BI Desktop, all right? The amount of options that I'm allowed here are very limited. Most of the stuff you'll be doing is working in Power BI Desktop, which is the same interface with more bells and whistles, and then uploading it right here to my workspace to Power BI Online. Now, once I'm done here, what I'm going to do is, leave my card alone. Now, let's say I wanted to start analyzing stuff by geography, by province. Now, in order to get a new visualization set up, I need to press the button here, all right? I need to press the button here, and I'd have the new visual set up ready for me to start pulling fields. But one thing I want you to notice is that, say for example, accidentally, I never ever unselected my previous card. If I were to come over here and click on any other visualization, it would automatically change into that new visualization, and I'd lose my previous card. Now, I can always go back by just pressing the cards, right? But my point here is always, always, always make sure that you deselect, that you don't have it selected, your previous visualization before putting in the new one. All right, so now let's get started. We're going to start working with geography, and I want to set up a chart. I want to set up a chart that shows me sales by province. All right, sales by province. Now that chart is going to come over from here. So I'm going to press this little, the clustered bar chart one. I'm going to make it a little bit larger. Now, after I've done that, I'm going to come over here and start looking for my fields that I'm going to be using. So say for example sales, they'll come over here to values, and I'll get one big bar that shows me how many total sales I've made. Now after that, I'm going to look for province and drag it up here to axis. All right, and notice that now I get all the provinces right there in the axis. All right, and the benefit of doing that, you'll notice this is pretty much the same as the bar chart that we were using back when we were doing natural language queries, is that I can come over here to this little roller thingy, and I can change the title, anything that I want. All right, so let's make this say the data colors. I'm going to change them to that same yellow hue. There we go. And let's make the title a little bit larger. And where is it? Here we go. Title. Let's up it in size. All right, guys. Now let's change everything up to make sure it fits. All right, so we have the sales by province. Now, what else could we add here? All right, so let's say we also need a table with the labels, a table with just the numbers. All right, so we have several options there, but I think the one that makes the most sense and the one that you actually need to know is this one that's called matrix. Now, we are going to use matrices, nothing to do with the movie. Matrices are actually pivot tables. If you're familiar with pivot tables in Excel, then matrices are exactly the same thing. All right, so let's click on matrix and we get a new visual here, and let's do the exact same thing. I'm going to drag sales over here to values and province up here to rows, and notice province up here to rows, and notice how I got a pivot table, or pretty much something like it, a pivot table that shows me the sales by province. All right, now say I wanted to break them out by year, so I just drag, say, I don't know, order year over here to columns, and now I'd get the total sales per year by province. So I could see how they were progressing upwards. All right, how I'd see how they were progressing upwards, or in this particular case they're losing sales in a bunch of provinces, so how they were progressing downward. All right, guys, so now after we've done this, after we've seen all the essential visuals in Power BI, we have one last visual left to go, and that is going to be the most, it's not the most important one by far, but it's the most impactful one. This is something called chiroplectic maps, and this is something that you can actually do in Excel, but in Power BI the interactivity is like really cool. So how would I go about doing that? Well, I'd look for the chiroplectic map. It could either be the map or the field map. In this case we're going to use the field map. The map is something that we're going to use in the second part of this tutorial, but for right now let's use, say for example, the field map, and drag it up here, make it a little bit larger, and let's start working with it. Now I'm going to use the province as the location. All right, guys, I'm going to use the province as a location. Now notice how, since the store is selling in all of Canada, we already get all of Canada colored up. Now let's start dragging up the values. We're looking at sales. So say for example I drag sales and I drag it right here where it says color saturation. That's pretty much the equivalent of values. Let it fall right here in color saturation, and notice how each Canadian province is now a different hue of color. Let's change the map, the data colors. Let's change them to yellow, minimum, maximum. All right, so I think this is a little bit clearer. Now notice how Ontario, which is the most important Canadian province, it's the one that's in the darkest hue of yellow. Whereas the one that's in the lightest hue of yellow, well, you either have Nunavut, you have nothing there but seals and polar bears, unless they've already died off due to global warming, and Newfoundland, where absolutely no one lives. All right, so say for example most of the sales are either in Ontario or British Columbia, which is the best Canadian province ever, which the only one I've ever visited actually. Okay, so pretty much we have our map here, and whenever we move our mouse over any of these provinces, we get the total amount of sales. Now, one of the most interesting things here is that in Power BI, everything is a slicer, right? Absolutely everything is a slicer. So if I were to click on Ontario, look at, for example, how I clicked on Ontario, and everything actually changed. The total sales, I'm getting the total sales for Ontario here. Ontario gets colored right here in my bar chart, and my matrix filters out to only show Ontario. So this is really cool about Power BI. This is something that you cannot make work, that you cannot get to work in Excel. All right, there's no way you could make a chart to be a slicer at the same time, to be a filter at the same time. Say for example, I wanted to check out Quebec. Click on Quebec, then I get the total sales for Quebec. I know that it's placed number 4, and I get the total sales by year for Quebec. Say for example, I was tired of looking at Quebec. I want to see for the whole of Canada again. So I press right here, I get in Quebec, and I get back to my original numbers. All right, guys. So this is pretty much it for everything that we wanted to do with the report. Now, one last thing that we need to figure out is filters, all right? Filters work a little bit differently than from Excel. When we're working with filters in Power BI, notice how we have right here this little thingy, this little box here that talks about filters, either page level filters or report level filters. And if I were to click on my on a visual, any visual at all, I'd get also visual level filters. Now, let me explain to you what those are. Visual level filters are filters that only affect the visual being selected, all right? So if I apply a filter here, it's not going to have any impact on any other of my elements. Page level filters, they're going to affect every single element within page 1. And I can add extra pages right here. So report level filters would affect both page 1 and page 2 filters, all right? Page 2 elements. And that's it, all right? That's it. I'm going to delete page 2 because I only added it to prove a point, but I do want to add page level filters. Let us suppose that this is going for the guy in charge. Let me just check something out here. Let's suppose that this is going for the guy in charge of the small business client segment, all right? Of the small business client segment. So he's only interested in looking at numbers related to small businesses. So I would go over here and look for client type, client segment, and drag it out here to page level filters, all right? And notice that it's going to ask me for basic filtering. What do I want to see? And I'm going to tell it, I just want to see sales for small businesses. Press the little checkbox here, and there we go. Now we have all of these items. Everything was filtered out to show only sales for small businesses. And that's it. We cannot change it unless we go back to visualizations, all right? So I probably need to change the title to make sure sales analysis by geography for small business clients. And let's make it a little bit smaller. Well, not so small. Say, I think that's good enough for small business clients. There we go, guys. Sales analysis by geography for small business clients. Now, we're good. We're happy with our dashboard. I think it's time, with our report, it's time to pin it back into a dashboard. All right. So I'd go over here to File. Notice how it says File. And I tell it to save this report. Now, I need a name for the report. I'm going to do Sales by Geo for small businesses. I'm going to click Save. And you'll notice that the report has been saved. It's already here in my report section that I wanted to go so desperately back a few minutes ago. So now that I have my report saved, I can pin the page. I can pin the page over to my dashboard. I'm going to pin it live and go over to the dashboard. Notice how back here we have our report, and it has more or less the same functionality as in when we were in the actual report view. Now, big difference is that the slicers don't work. If I click here, oh no, I'm sorry. The slicers actually work fine, but what I meant to say was the slicers won't work with this, all right? The slicers won't work with the other elements. The slicers will only affect stuff in my report, all right? Will only affect stuff in my report. Another very important thing is that right now you can't see it, but if I have several pages, I can't look at the several pages right here, all right? I have to go over to a report view. Now, this is pretty cool and everything. We can start pinning stuff into our dashboard and adding stuff that we think is relevant. But the problem is it can get saturated with stuff really fast, really soon. All right, and this is a problem if you're doing if you're collaborating with other people, because everyone has their own ideas of what's important. So, say for example, yes, this report is fine, but other people will want to add their donut charts, their sales cards, their sales things. We can also add extra tiles and include images, contents, video, text boxes, whatever. I mean, pretty much everything that you can think of, you can add right here. So yes, you can decorate your dashboard, but you can also saturate it with a ton of useless stuff. So be careful about it. Be careful about that. Now, let's say, for example, that I wanted to share the entire dashboard with everyone or with whomever. So I have several options here. I could actually go over here to share. And the only way to share is to actually use Power BI Pro. Now, if you're following along with the tutorial, you can try Pro for free. There's no drawback there. You can try it for free for 60 days. They don't ask for your credit card or anything. And after your membership expires, well, that's it. You can actually choose if you want to pay for it or not. The main reason for paying for Power BI is this one. Pretty much the only reason for paying for Power BI is this one, so that you can actually get Power BI Pro and share your stuff with other people in your enterprise. So let's try Pro for free. I'm going to start the trial. The trial has been extended. All right, so now I can share my stuff. Let's go back here to share. All right, and after that, we can actually start sharing with other people. All right, so say for example, I'm just going to send the email invitations out right now, but I'm not going to look at it from their perspective. So say admisión at a2capacitacion.com. Now that's for the Spanish part of the enterprise. And I'm going to click share on that. Now notice how it's going to tell me that the invitation is going to get sent right now. Your dashboard has been shared successfully. And if I go over here to access, I'll see myself as an owner and this admisión at @a2capacitacion, and I can cancel the invite there. Now those people can actually come here and look at my dashboard and well, share in the fun. All right. Now there's another option for that, and that is particular to reports. If I go over to my workspace and I go over to this particular report, I can also share this particular report. All right, share the actual report, and again, it has to be available to everyone. All right, it has to be available to everyone. Finally, I could also publish this report to web. All right, I could also publish this report to web or embed it in SharePoint Online. Now, publishing to web is going to be a risky proposition because this is not for confidential information. It actually goes over to out to the web. It's going to be publicly available. Say, for example, I copy this link over here and I add it to a new browser, and it's going to load up right here. And everyone who has access to this link, they can actually view the financial information of our company. So why would anyone want to do this? Well, let's suppose you want to share a public information report. Then yeah, it's fine. And you can embed it into web pages if you actually know how to use HTML. Now, suppose that wasn't what you wanted to do. Well, you could actually share the report to a SharePoint Online. All right. Now, this is the link to embed the report in SharePoint. So say, for example, I know people who work in HP usually use a lot of SharePoint. They can start setting up reports and sharing the reports in SharePoint. Now, the real advantage here, the advantage that makes Power BI such a great seller is its sharing capability. If you want to show this report to someone in Excel, you'd have to actually mail them the Excel file. And whenever the data was updated, then you had to mail them again the Excel file. So I remember when I was doing monthly closes for IBM, every single month I had to send in a new file and a new file and a new file and the revision and the new version. And pretty much every month, every monthly close, we had to do like 10 updated versions of the file until it was okay. Now, once Power BI comes into a scene, what you actually get is you get the report right here, and you send the link for SharePoint, and the managers and everyone who actually doesn't care about Excel, they can just look at this file right here, and it's going to get updated with anything that I worked behind the scenes, like I showed you, all right? So any update that comes over to my file right here, and any info that comes over to this file, it's going to automatically get updated in my Power BI, all right? It's going to automatically get updated into my Power BI. And any update I make to the visuals or stuff in the report, it's also going to get updated. Now, one of the things that we didn't actually check out was calculations. And this is, as a closing remark for the video, is calculations are the real heart of Power BI, all right? Now, you can do all of these fancy visuals, you can do all the sharing you want, but the calculations that you make with VAX, now those are the real bread and butter with Power BI, and that's the real reason to learn Power BI. Now, calculations are not easy, but, I mean, those measures are not easy, but it's really worthwhile learning them. Now, in our next video in the series, we're going to actually learn about Power BI Desktop. We're going to delve a little bit into measures, and then in the third video in the series, we're actually going to delve a little bit more into measures. But that, I mean, measures, calculations, they're really a world unto themselves. You can spend a lot of time studying them, all right? Well, guys, I hope you liked the video. This is it for the first part. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you leave a comment. It will really help me out. All right, guys, see you next time. Do you want to be an Excel god? Our online course will turn you into an Excel master in only 90 days. Excel is the most important tool in the office, but almost nobody knows how to use it. Most people dive right into Excel with no formal training and never use the right tools. And thus, they end up delivering messy reports that are full of mistakes, and they end up hating their jobs. In reality, Excel is really simple to use and can do your job for you, if you know how to use it. But you have to pick the right place to learn from, or you'll only end up more confused with all of the different tools and functions that Excel has to offer you. So, what can you do? Our Excel course is tailor-made for you. We're going to teach you Excel, all of Excel, using real-life examples. From simple exercises to full-fledged business case studies. Take the online course and you'll be an Excel god in only 90 days. The course consists in more than 45 lessons and 15 case studies, all with their detailed solutions completely recorded in video. And you're going to be able to access them whenever you want, whatever you want. Best of all, you're going to have lifetime access to the course, and you're going to get any of the updates that we're constantly putting out for free. Even better, when you get our course, you'll have free access to our full Visual Basic and Macros course, and also to our Power BI course, all with just one single purchase. More than 3,000 students have passed through our classrooms. We've attended companies like Kodak, IBM, Cemex, HP, Continental, DB Schenker, and more. So, if you want to absolutely master Excel, make sure that you sign up now. You will become an Excel guy. A2 Excel.